Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Insider, brought to you, just for change, by Vanishing Inc. My guest today changed coin magic forever when he released Three Fly. He started the cardistry movement when he released the Sybil Cut. He spent the last 20 plus years working on the biggest magic show in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to announce my guest today is none other but Chris Kenner. Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm lovely, thank you very much.
Oh God, what an introduction.
Well, you did it, man. It's all your fault.
I don't know.
What's your magic origin story?
I try to move forward. I try to forget about that stuff, kind of. Instead of, I know too many people that have like one thing and that's right here on their shoulders for the rest of their life. I don't want to be that person. So I kind of like, I move on. I just keep moving forward.
Okay, we'll go over. My guest today keeps moving forward. It's none other than Chris Kenner. Chris, what's your magic origin story? You've got 27 seconds.
Oh gosh, I saw a TV show called The Bowery Boys, and in that show, I think it was John Scarney did a shuffle routine where he would pull the aces out, and I was hooked. And I didn't necessarily care about magic. I cared about shuffling the cards and pulling the aces out. I didn't really even know that was a magic trick. I was like 10 years old. And I ended up the only way to learn that was through magic books. So I got some magic books from the library, and then that's it. I just kind of started. And then another thing that I did was I thought that every magic book, every magician could do every single thing in every book. So, I was shocked when I met my first magician and realized they knew 3 moves. So I was like, oh my God, I'm only 13 and I've read this book 50 times. And that's back when reading books, that was a long time. I'm old, so that was a long time ago. There's no VHS tapes, no nothing, only books at the library.
Sure. No, I did. We had Tony Cheng on the show last week, and he was similar. He read the books and just assumed everybody could do the stuff that was in the books because.
Yeah, I literally thought everybody could do everything, and that I would look like a fool if I couldn't.
Sure.
And I just learned and learned and learned, even this like minutia stuff and real hard stuff that you couldn't understand because I was young and I couldn't even quite understand. If you read books, old books, they are written in like 3 paragraphs to describe a trick now that would take somebody would do a 2-hour video on.
Sure.
And it would literally be 3 paragraphs, and you had to decipher what to do. And then it was interesting. Also, another thing back then was it was interesting to see how people what they got out of it from a move. Like if you were learning the pass or any kind of like technical side steal, diagonal palm shift, how people interpreted all of that. It was a different time, totally different time.
It was. I first saw you at the session, I think in 2012, when you were given the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I don't know if you remember this, but one evening there was a young magician called Edward Hilson, who has now gone on to win the Magic Circle, close-up magician, kids magician, stage magician. And you sat on the floor with him. He was working on the Coins Across thing, and which has now become a routine that he's well known for called Silver. And you sat on the floor with him in the bar for at least an hour, working on this thing with him. Why do you think it's so important to help the young generation?
Well, number one, they're the future of our art form, if we want to call it that. And they are, something, they deserve it. That's really all that matters to me. If I have anything that I can do to help them, why would I not do that? It just seems odd to not tell. I'm a guy. If you fool me, I'm going to say, "Oh my God, that fooled me! Holy cow, that is unbelievable!" And a lot of guys my age don't do that. They'll be like, "That's pretty good, not bad." Isn't that in Tarbell? Sorry, my best Max Maven. But yeah, I remember that. And that it was good. He had good stuff. And that's the other thing. These kids have great stuff. And I don't think that again, my generation doesn't acknowledge it. They almost want to ignore it. And it's really, really weird. To me, I learned so much from watching these young guys and their techniques and their ideas because they have this like open source sharing kind of thing, which some people don't like, but I think it's fantastic. And they can talk to each other all around the world and bounce ideas off. And through that, I've seen some like unbelievable, clever stuff. And through that, some of these guys are turning into okay performers, and then they'll become great performers. The whole thing about they only do magic tricks for YouTube. I loved that. I when the pandemic hit, it was one of my favorite things. I loved that pandemic.
That pandemic is awesome.
That thing. Come on back. When that first started, and all of these people that I had seen for years say, "Oh, these guys just do their little YouTuber show and they just do tricks through the screen." That's what they all went and did.
Yeah.
And embraced it and forgot the fact that they just said, they poo-pooed on it for these kids for so long. It just is like, wait, what? The same people that are saying these guys are only do things for a camera, or can't do anything, is one angle. That's what they're doing. And then I get the cop out of, well, I have to make a living, and
sure.
The way things are moving. Okay, well, I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
So I think that the kids are. First off, if I would have done anything to have the resources they had when I was younger.
Oh gosh, yes.
And I would love to seen what happened to my thought process. So it's a good thing to help these guys.
Well, I think so, but not everybody seems to share as generously as you did. You, whether you like it or not, did influence a whole movement of flourishes with the Sybil. And I read in an interview now, and I'm going to quote you, "You try to take any move possible out of magic, so it looks like it's effortless and there's nothing. I've taken flashy out of the mix." End quote. Why have you taken flashy out of the mix?
Well, that's okay. It's more like it's funny because this is a big part of what I'm going to talk about on the masterclass. Not a big part. It's a portion of it is to talk about economy of motion and useless moves.
Okay.
Like, we love useless moves. We just magicians as a point. We love them. we love to have something selected, put it back, and then puff up and do the move, and then go back to the relaxed move. Oh my God. So my actual performance, it doesn't mean that I won't do a cut or a move that's like that. Like I don't really do Sybil per se anymore, because there's so many things much more advanced and better. And I like to fiddle with fun things that were within when I say skill level, I almost mean time level, because I don't have the time and energy to I'm working on sleight of hand, and that's what I really focus on, kind of natural sleight of hand. I don't want to focus on just flourishes, but I do, because they really help you. They really help your skill. They really are fun, and it can give you a different insight to moves that you didn't think you could do.
Right.
And these kids just take it to this level of unbelievable. So, but I always try to take moves out. I hate palms. I hate them. Well, because a move looks like a move.
Okay.
That's the problem. When things, and the other interesting thing I see is people doing moves for the sake just to do them. Like, there's a way easier way out, or more practical way, but they get more credit from their magician friends for doing the move. Like, is that what you need? Now, and I get that. As a kid, I tried to do the hardest stuff possible and to do it well. And that, I get that mindset. But at the same time, I still, even then, didn't want it. I wanted it to look as natural as possible.
Right.
Because I grew up next to Brother John Hammond, and he was a high school teacher, and we were sort of one of the rival. They were one of our rival high schools for our sport teams. So I would go see Brother John I don't know, once a month at least for many, many years. And he used to even with coin magic, he would talk to me about natural and the idea of making things simple. And he was the only person that ever, I think, in that era, understood that really well, because he was very skilled, and he would put a gimmick, and I don't love gimmicks, especially back then. I hated them. But he would put a gimmick in and fool people badly. And this is a guy who his audience was high school kids. So you know how high school kids are. Grab stuff. They know him. They know him. Yeah, they know him. So they already broke the fourth wall with this guy. And he would fool the crap out of him with. He did enough stuff with a regular deck that if he tossed in something without, and he was smart enough to do one thing for them, and then not do another gimmick thing. Very clever, very smart thinker. He helped me a lot with being natural, and that's where I think all of it came from. And I try, even through the years, I look at my book, and there are some things in there that I just cringe because I wouldn't use them. I used them then out of the idea of trying to create a trick.
Sure.
And now I look at it like the trick. I love the idea. I hate the get ready. In other words, like there's the collectors in that book. There's parts in there I really like. And then the fact that I had to use an atlas, I just hate. I hate that move because when I see someone just start pulling those cards off like that, I kind of cringe. So it seems like such an old timey 70s thing.
Right.
And like it was a necessity in the 70s. It was everybody did it. It was like, oh gosh, look at all the things we can do. And then all the people that were creating tricks at that time, like, we have a new move. We have a new idea, a new way to get into a problem. Like I need 2 cards face up, a card face down, and then the card face up. How do I get there? Easy. You do an atlas. There's a bunch of ways to do it with atlas. So if you can, I spent quite a bit of hours trying to solve that problem. In each trick is a different problem because you need a different situation. And it is not an easy problem to solve and make look good.
No, sure. Talking of problems, everybody says you're super creative, but I've read in a couple of places that you don't think of yourself as creative, but think of yourself as a problem solver. And you've talked about breaking a trick down like a formula. Can you explain about how you go about breaking a trick down into a formula?
Well, first off, the creative thing I'll address really quickly.
Sure.
And some of the stuff I'm going to go over in the thing, but it's no problem here. I create the word creativity and genius in our world is used as a currency in the strangest way. So, you're told you're creative a lot. You start to believe it, and you use the word to describe yourself. That's what happens. So one day I was going to a movie and I run into Penn, and we start chatting, and then he brings up some issue about something. It wasn't. I don't even think it was even a magic problem. And I said, hey, I could probably figure that out. I'm pretty creative. I could probably figure that out. And he goes, oh, so you're one of those guys. Now he's not being mean. He's the hero in the story to me. So it's not that. Don't take that as that's Penn being a jerk. So I'm like, oh, and I just kind of changed the subject. Went on, and I couldn't stop thinking about that. He said that you're one of those guys. You say you're creative. And I started to kind of went up, looked up the word creativity and thought about it. And I thought, the people that are genuinely creative in our world, I'm doing card tricks. I'm doing coin tricks. I might be solving some issues and coming up with some interesting ideas, but that word creative is big. And then I started realizing how much it gets used, and it just made me go, I don't want to call myself creative. That year I won the creative award from the Magic Castle, by the way.
Of course you did.
So it was so funny. And I had a whole speech about not being creative when I got my award, not liking the word. But sometimes it slips in and I'll say the word creative, but I try to take it out of my vocabulary, especially to describe myself. And I just look at it as like I solve little problems, from I want to take the palm out of the trick. I'm solving the problem. That's it.
Yeah.
I have an idea to make this happen. I just solve the issue. It's a problem, and you solve it. And I think if I look at it like that, I can do that in my life with whatever it is.
Right.
From you're being a parent. You're solving problems to whatever you want to do. With your directions on how you're going to drive somewhere. Whatever it is, you're solving a problem. And if you I look at it like that. So that's and the other half of that question was
about breaking tricks down into a formula. And how do you do that?
So to me, tricks are formulas for the most part. I'll just break down the most obvious one, a not real obvious one. Let's say ring flight. Ring flight, great trick. People do it. Everybody buys it. And there are people that are fantastic, creative magicians that have books and a million tricks out there that still do those tricks, that kind of trick. And no problem with that. But I think that's what that is that's borrowed object to impossible location. That's it.
Okay.
So now that's all you have to do is think that way. Take both objects out, the ring and the key case. Could be whatever. That's where the little tennis shoe trick came from. Because what I was is I'm in a restaurant where people are doing ring flight, and I experimented with quite a few store-bought tricks to see what worked, and then I would take those tricks and I kind of broke them down. This is back when I was at Illusions in Indiana. I would break them down and then make them something else that doesn't even look like the same trick. But I 100% knew that the beats of the trick worked. I knew that if I borrowed an object, everybody knew it was really theirs. You know, it's not like, you know, I'm and then you made it disappear and appeared somewhere else. So with that, I have thought of many different things. That's most of the things I've ever done in my performance and in especially my stand-up stuff, all came from that process. All of it.
Interesting.
And you can do that like now. Signed card to wallet is signed object to impossible location. So now, now the same kind of idea, but you bring in signed object can be your object, could be the weirdest object. You could bring here's a pancake.
Yep.
Take a bite out of it and put your teeth marks in it, and put it in this plastic bag. Now, whatever you want to think of, you could go to that level of craziness and make it appear wherever. It doesn't matter. So that becomes another way to look at it. And with that, it's pretty easy to come up with stuff, like easy. And then you just have to, from that, you work backwards to figure out how you want to do the method.
Sure.
And another thing I've done before with that same process is I would have an idea. And if I didn't I knew I could make a method, or I didn't have a fantastic method yet, but I knew that was a trick I wanted to do. To see if it would even work, I would fake it in a stand-up show. So I would just, let's say...
What do you mean?
Well, here, I'll give you an example. Let's say, let's say that let's say I wanted to do signed coin to guitar. You have a guitar behind you. Signed coin to a guitar where I just break the guitar into pieces and it's inside. I don't know why I would want to do that, but let's say that was my thought.
Yeah.
So then I would just take a person and say, hey, I'm going to do this for three days. Can you come in? I want to see if it's funny. If I can make this funny. Because I didn't really, at the time, I was just trying to be funny. So I was really caring about that. So I wanted to make sure that the effect was worth the time I was going to put in. So, I've done that a couple of times and things just didn't work like I thought they would. And I moved on. And I'm so happy I did it that way. And then there have been times where I have done something and I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. Love this. I'm going to make this
Now
work.
I need a method.
Yeah. Well, now I need to, it's more like now I need to spend the money and build it.
Right.
My world now, I don't have as much, I'm not worried as much as I would probably just build it and try it.
Yeah.
I don't have and I also don't have a venue to perform every single night. So
sure.
Then I would just build it for fun if I really wanted to make something.
Yeah. You've spoken about not being a huge fan of the magician that always has a deck of cards and a 10-minute set ready to do because he's not very socially adept and uses magic as a crutch. Fair enough. I don't disagree with you. But my question for you, Mr. Kenner, is how do you think someone like that should learn to be more socially adept? What can they do instead of the cards to learn how to talk to people?
I don't know. That's the therapist. I'm here all week. Ding, ding, ding. Well, that's a different case for pretty much every person. This is a deep subject to me because I really don't like it.
Okay.
I find it I have a deck of cards on me all the time.
Sure. But you don't perform if people ask you to, do you?
No, no. Um, and if I want to do something, I'll show Homer or I'll talk to, I don't do, I, I know rarely, maybe, I don't even really show David. He just sees me fiddle with a deck of cards. Occasionally he'll go, what was that? So it'll be a color change or something. But I just find it's one thing when you're the magician, you show up at the party and you have to do tricks, and that becomes your personality, and that's what you really love. I do get it. I do get that. I get it. I just find it really becomes their whole being. And it almost makes me sad. That's all, really. It's just some of these people that I know that do that, they really have a lot to offer as a person. Now I see people, and then you've got the cliche guy who's like dirty, their shirts are wrinkled and they're doing tricks, and they just, that's how they get attention.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think just, I don't know. I find that your personality is probably good enough. You don't necessarily have to be the star of the evening.
Yeah.
And then and if here, I'm going to put it in another way that this will not be super popular probably, but I don't know. Do you really think that society and all those people that you're going to do magic tricks for, your friends, the friends of your friends and all, do they think they really look at magicians as like, boy, he did it. He's a magician. They compare you to their Uncle Joe who does card tricks and, works as a prison guard. I just find it, I really wish it wasn't like that, but unfortunately it is. Now, I'll tell you the other thing about the same exact problem.
Mm-hmm.
If someone says, I say, why do you do magic? I do magic to pick up girls and hang out at bars and have, I can't talk to people, so I do magic tricks. You know what? If you said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, this guy's got to pass. But nobody does. Everyone thinks, because I've seen people that do that kind of thing, and then they end up being, if you would ask them why they did magic, well, I wanted to push magic forward and create and be the best that I could be, and I'm here because this is an art form, and it's an art. I'm giving my gift to the world.
Yeah.
Oh God, think how that sounds. But yeah, you actually know quite a bit about me here. You've asked some pretty good questions. This is one of the best 4 questions right off the bat I've had ever in a podcast type thing.
Thank you.
So I hope that kind of gets it through. I mean, I'm not saying people don't have a personality, but it gets to be that. And I don't mean to harp on this whole subject. The other thing I find happens, and this happens not just with that, but it's part of that. When we do a trick, no matter what it is, whenever you do an effect, we're basically lying to someone.
Sure.
This is your cards in the middle, whatever it is, and that's a lie, and that's power. And I've seen, and it tends to bring this deceit out of people, because if they can get away with it for the small group with the playing cards,
mm-hmm.
they can get away with it in a bigger way. So it's an interesting thing it does to your personality. And I don't mean it is bad or it turns people into liars, but it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting feeling of power that you get. And that's starts to bleed into your normal life.
Yeah. And
a way to put that is you think you have this power, so you dress. Magicians dress so freaking weird, We walk out in the audience at David Copperfield show. I can walk out and go, close up magician. Cardistry guy maybe. Yeah. Oh my God, look at that card tie. Okay, there you go. He knows 3 tricks and he's a king of the Lions Club. You just kind of can go out and say what's who by the way they wear it, what they wear. And that's another whole thing. It's like, why do you have to, dress the part of a magician? Plus, you got to have a deck of cards. Plus, you're doing stuff every time someone asks. Or you're like, wow.
Yeah, there's not many You don't dress like a saxophone player, do you?
No, wait, what else? What else? Hey, I'll tell you, you can go into Hollywood and say that guy looks like a producer, or that guy looks like he's an actor. This guy's this. You can that kind of goes a little bit, but it's different. It's different. It's
Yeah,
totally different.
it really is.
We're crazy.
You mentioned illusions earlier, and you'd said that it was a place that you could be bad, right? Why do you think it's important for everyone to find a place to be bad? And, as a bonus question, how can people find a place to be bad today?
Well, I could have told, I don't really know how to find a place to be bad necessarily,
Okay.
because, I concentrate so much on what I'm doing. And for 30 years, I've done this, my world. So I don't know, like, oh, you approach a restaurant like this and you tell them this. I have no idea the pulse of restaurants now, how it works. And, at Illusions at that time, there were people, they were very accepting to magicians and to people coming in and helping the restaurant. And that was everybody with money. Every place was making different kind of, it's all different. So I don't know how to tell you how to do that. But the being able to do something and be bad. Now, again, I can hear people go, what if I just do magic for all my friends? That's the same thing. Okay, maybe. So I'm not really trying to contradict myself. But if you get a place where you can perform all the time, you could try stuff. Man, I tried everything. I tried anything I could all the time. If I wasn't progressing or trying to come up with something new, I was. And now the other thing is when I worked there, I wouldn't do I did card on ceiling a little bit, and then I just said, screw this. Everybody does this trick. I don't want to be like everybody else.
Right.
No card on ceiling, no card to wallet, no. Every single person. You went and saw another person at Illusions. They're all doing, now obviously coins across, three fly, and another coins across are, you might say, is the same trick, but everyone's doing the same routines. At some point, you could see two guys, and there would always be an overlap of at least one trick. Always. And that's unfortunate when there's all these books, all this stuff. And even the people that were there at Illusion, some of them had written some of these books, yet they were doing things that were like other people in the place. And that's one of the, David told me that when I met him. He said, you're different. You're different. You do different stuff. You're different. When I saw you, I didn't see the same stuff I saw everyone else do. And that's how I worked. And that's what I've always wanted to do, is try to be different. I love buying tricks and playing with them and then putting them on a shelf. Because sometimes they'll inspire me for an idea, method, or just in general, just inspire me for the fact that they're pretty ingenious, So I do fiddle with other stuff all the time, but if I try to perform, I want to perform my own things.
Yeah. So when you're there and you're trying the new stuff, a whole bunch of it's got to fail. So there's going to be people listening to this or watching it that are scared of failure. How do you learn to lean into that? How do you learn to embrace failure?
Well, that's the only way to get better. You can't. Everything you do is not just going to be. Every bad idea became a great idea at some point, or every great idea was a bad idea to someone at some point, probably. So, if you've got a trick and you're trying to make it simpler, or you want to try, I don't like. Again, I've talked about this many times. I don't like palming, yet I practice palming almost more than any move. I practice
self-flagellation.
Yep, I practice tons of palms, and I always find the inherent problems with them. And one of my problems with palming is I can name a couple of guys where they've palmed the card and I didn't know it. And as I say, a couple of guys, that's it.
Right.
But for the most part, when the card's in their palm, I know it immediately. The second that they put it in there to the second that they put it in their pocket or whatever they do with it. So and I tried tricks with I've tried palming. I've tried it. And I can get away. You can get away with it. But I just always felt so guilty. My brain just went to, I thought, anytime my hand got into that position, I just felt like there's a giant red arrow floating above my hand, pointing at it. And I think that might be portrayed through my own body language too. So I have a hard time with it. But there's so many palming tricks I love that require palms, the effect at the end of the day is fantastic. So I've tried to eliminate those palms. But yeah, it's not bad. You need to go somewhere. And when you say fail, it's not necessarily fail. Like bad is not failure. Like
Okay.
the trick just is not as good. Like if I do a 10-minute thing at a table, and I put one 30-second or 1 minute thing in the middle there that I don't know is going to work as well. If it just doesn't get as good a reaction as the thing I would have normally done there, that's more
People won't
being
remember
bad.
that anyway, will they? Vernon
Yeah.
always said a good beginning and a good end, and it doesn't really matter what you do in the middle, right?
Right. The cups and balls is the lemon trick, the lemon from the cup trick.
Yeah. BS. Lemons.
Yeah, I did a thing at a Magic convention one time where I did the cups and balls, and I came out and I took the cups and I had them examined. So I handed them out and I handed them out. I had them examine the cups. I took the cups back and I said, normally people take the little ball and they do the thing, and they produce lemons or balls, big balls. And oh heck, I just gave the ending away, so I might as well just do that. And then I just lift the cups up and that's it. Did no trick, no nothing. And the method was hysterical because I just did it as a gag. I kind of thought, hey, I wonder if I could give everybody in the audience that were my friends lemons and have them examine the cups and just load them in for me and hand them back. So I did that, and the guy that was following me around introducing me after like the third room said, I have no idea how this lemon thing works. Can I see the cups? And I'm like, are you serious? You've seen it 3 times. You don't realize, that I'm handing it to all my friends. So it was kind of funny. I give it to the front row. So you pass them around, let everybody see them, and then when I knew who got them, they would just load the ball and hand me a cup back. So it was pretty funny. But that's like a gag, but at the same time, that's that trick.
It's still strong, man.
About.
You filled the whole room, apart from.
Oh, it was funny. It was a little buzz on that one, and I kind of felt bad at the same time. I'm like, oh god, I fooled him with what to me was a joke.
Yeah. But sometimes there's cheating and cheating, isn't there? My wife always talks about that when it's like really cruddy cheating. Like she thinks she'll appreciate a move and practice and sleight of hand, and she gets that that's cheating. But when it's just you just used a Confederate, or you did that, or you did that, it's like anyone could have done that, But
yeah, my wife has actually never seen me do a trick.
That's the secret to a long and successful marriage.
Yeah, we don't really. She knows what I do, and she knows that magicians seem to like me, so she kind of she's just weirded out by that at the same time. She's like, yeah, my magicians. It's her friends or magicians on Instagram that ask to be friends with her or try to follow her. She's like, someone tries to follow me. I assume they're a magician. Okay.
Probably. What excites you about magic today, Chris?
That's a toughie. Well, the young people, actually, that's it. Honestly, it's like and then watching like Williamson, he's always on, always good. He's always good. Like I love Ben Earl, so Ben is just like I could talk to him for hours and hours and hours about it was one subject.
Yeah.
But it's mostly all the what's happening with all the youth. It's great to see these kids come up, be good, be funny, be whatever they want to be, and they're coming up with some of the best stuff.
Fair. What part do you think storytelling plays in strong magic?
If you would have asked me this 30 years ago, I would have said I hated story tricks, which I kind of used to hate them. I don't like some ways. Sometimes I don't love stories, but if you can really make it work and it's got purpose, I think it makes it way stronger. And I think the thing that I have become as I've gotten older is I used to do it where I used to perform, and I was worried about how much magic people could see in it, whatever it would be. More. Once I started to do stand up, I was only caring about if it was funny. Most of my stand up stuff, half of it's stuff that fails, and it's just that fails on purpose, or it's halfway works, and there's a gag at the end, or that it's. But my close up stuff, I was focused on the effect and the trick,
Sure.
what they visually saw, and I didn't realize how powerful meaning was. And if you can portray a story, or you can get away with talking about it, it's great. Now, when sometimes you hear people that bought a trick and read the story that they just read from the trick,
Yeah.
then it doesn't work. Not necessarily. Sometimes it can, but it's hard to tell another person's story and make it work. But if you can say, hey, this happened to me and it caused me to like this, or this happened and da, da, da. But I now inject a lot of reason. I don't really call it story, reason to why I do what I do. And I do a lot of things. I do some of my card stuff now that I actually fiddle with is more, I don't know how to describe it, but it's less of a, look, this is a magic trick than this is almost like a borderline demonstration of skill / story / it's a weird mixture of a presentation. I don't love, I do like my favorite thing that I do now. I have any deck. I just say it's a borrowed deck. I give the deck. I let them shuffle it, and they hand it back to me. And I say, at least if I have two people, I say, you watch me. I don't want to look at these. I'm not going to look at the cards at all, ever. So until the end. So you keep your eyes on me that you can guarantee I'm not going to look at them. So now I have somebody look at a card. Everything's very fair. They look at a card, and I square it up. There's no breaks, no nothing. I actually put the deck on my chest. I take the deck at the end and I put it on my chest so I can say, okay, so look at you guys. I don't know where any of the card is. I don't know this, but you picked it. I don't know what it is, but I know kind of where it is. Let me see if I can find it. And the whole story about it is I kind of go over a bunch of, it's not really BS, but the idea of everybody has sort of a superpower kind of thing. Like if you're a mechanic, you can walk up to a car and say, oh, the car, it sounds like it's a spark plug issue. It's missing. It's a cylinder issue. You hear it. It's a fuel issue. It's, you're obviously having an exhaust leak. They just hear it and they just know. And that it becomes really is like a superpower. They just know. And they can also fix it quickly. So through being around something so much, you become this, you have this weird second sense, sixth sense.
Yeah.
And I kind of go through that and I say, and I just have been having these cards in my hand for so long, I can kind of just do certain things. And here's a couple of them. And then I just say, look, I don't know where it is. I don't know what it is, but I kind of know where it is. And then I run through the deck, don't look, up jog the card, say, what was it? Boom. Yeah. Now then I'll do it again. Again, they don't look. I have a card just quickly selected and I cover it, don't let me see it. And I talk about running through the deck. So I say, okay, and it's just a long-winded, sounds so horrible when I describe it. Then I end up telling them what their card is by saying that I can run through the deck and basically figure out which card's missing by looking at them in groups, which is not the method, but the story is the idea of the effect is to try to tell them a positive thing that everybody has this innate ability to do something great, no matter what it is. If being a good parent is a superpower, and being a good kid's a superpower. Obeying the law, the driver, all of it. You can look at certain things that you can do really, really well, and it's you do it because you've done it a long, long time, and you just know how to do it naturally. So that's the idea that I try to force this narrative in there and do a demonstration style trick at the same time. So that's more,
but without it being a story.
Without it being a story, without it being preachy, which was also it's an interesting idea, and it took me. And that's I say a place to be bad. I fiddled with that idea, and I kind of just I'd show it to Homer, I'd show it to just a few of the people that met when we were in. This was back when we had some magic guys in Magic Lab. I would show them, and just kind of figured out to where if I do this for people, what do they feel? And I had 20 iterations of this. I've changed it. I've altered it. I've taken this to make the story shorter. I've got a formal presentation and a quick presentation, and it's so that's how much I think about an effect.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't just go, "Hey, this is a good idea. Look at that. Oh my God, this I'm done next. What can I do next? Oh my God, I fooled everyone."
Sure.
So I really try to go in depth and try to figure out why does it work, how does it work, what makes it work, what's the best part of the trick, all that.
How does your love of movies influence your approach to magic, Chris?
Am I just going to do my entire masterclass here?
You do it. Sure.
So no, I do. It's a big way, because the power that you get from a movie, from the grandiose, crazy movies that have they're just visual eye candy, like the Fast and Furious movies, and you just go see them, just sit and watch them, and then you go see, No Country for Old Men, and a lot of people that don't like No Country for Old Men will love Fast and Furious.
Yeah, sure.
Or so you got to. I like everything. I just love movies, so I try to see what I can get out of that from. Who is this for? Who is this? What's the point, and who's it for? So I sometimes break. If I do a trick, I'll give the cards a backstory that I never mentioned. Like, the four aces are part of the Incredibles, and they can do these power in my head, and that's why they can do them. And each one can do them a different way, which allows me to think of. If you think about it like that, you treat the trick like it's a tiny movie. That's part of what I.
So it has an internal narrative for you.
Yep, 100%. And you can use that narrative if you want. But what it does, though, is if you take that process down to even a color change, or even just I'm doing a double lift, put in the middle, it comes to the top. Is there a protagonist? Is there a hero's journey? Is there if you take it and think, who is the protagonist? Is the card the protagonist? Am I?
Yeah, is your hand.
What's the end? When the ending happens, what's the resolve? Did I get satisfied? Was the card happy? And you don't have to say any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Think it in your head, like, this card is, James Bond, and whatever you want it to be, you do, and that helps a lot, and it helps a lot in the flow of the effect, because if you're looking at the card, or the object, the coin, the card, the borrowed object, whatever it is, as a person, as an object that has meaning and desire, and is going to change, and what's going to happen to that person, and how are they going to feel when they're done in the end. What are you giving the audience? So I don't know.
That's heavy. What does a day in the life of Chris Kenner look like?
Bunch of texts and emails.
Okay, next question.
The show is an animal. I think
Sure.
what's interesting. A lot of people from my, even my friends that know me for a long time, I don't think they really understand how in depth and how deep I'm involved in this business, in this company. So, David, who's very, very intelligent, he's a great business person, but he's so focused on, he's got a big life, he's got a big world, and in that big world, you have to have some help. So I'm just there to help. So it's basically David and I that kind of show-wise deal with everything. And that is a big animal. There's upset people with things. There's returns. There's of course I go say two negative things right off the bat, which is like not even, that's this tiniest amount. We deal with marketing, box office, money, situations, employees. We've got 35, almost 40 employees. That's a constant. That's a flow of people. And there's all sorts of personalities involved. You just got to keep everyone happy, and then the MGM, we keep them happy. The fans, it's a lot. There's a lot that goes on. And at the same time, we have David has a museum, huge warehouse. He has an apartment in New York, the island, which kind of it's its own entity. I'm not really that involved, but it's all of that is part of his world, and that is It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. So my day is just, you never know. And that's what also kind of makes it fun. You never really know what it's going to be. It could be one day I'm solving some sort of problem for the show, the trick. And then the next day I've got an issue for shipping. Actually, we're dealing with a shipping issue right now. Something's coming from England that's coming here, and we're having customs is getting harder and harder to go through. So just I happen to have some logistics knowledge from getting a show traveled around the world so well for so many years that I have shipping people and I know who to talk to and how to get it shipped and how to avoid it being stuck in customs and or paying heavy duty, like a really expensive duty. So that sounds boring, but at the same time, that still is just as much of a problem solving issue as
Of course.
trying to figure out how to take the palm out of the trick.
Yeah. I don't want to go on about three fly because you've been asked about it too much already. But I've got one question, if I may. What made you think about moving the performing space for a coin trick from down here to up here? How did you do that?
I know exactly where it came from. And at the time, I was doing, and you look in my first book, The Right Stuff, which was 84, something. You'll see there's a picture in there of me holding coins in a fan. Because I was doing these coin vanishes all in a fan because I was doing everything up high. And the person who suggested to me to do the trick here was actually Brother John Hammond. So Brother John said I was doing a coin vanish where I had the coins in my hand and I was tossing them over and they would vanish. It's on this flat plane. He goes, well, only people can see it. You need to do it up here, and you hold the coins here where they see what you have and you vanish them in this hand like this. So that was where the initial thing came from. And that's probably I was probably in high school.
Wow.
So that's where the idea of starting to do things up or higher. And I've always thought that, why am I not doing things in the box here as opposed to like it's
one of those things that makes complete sense when somebody else has thought of it, but before then people hadn't done it. Do you know what I mean? It's like when Picasso does a single line sketch, you're like, oh, obviously, but somebody hadn't done it until the first person did it, right?
Yeah. So that's where that. And it's what I'll tell you what though. What's interesting though is if you look at T. Nelson Downs posters. This is T. Nelson Downs, so this is a long time ago. There's a whole thing where it's like he calls it pass 8 coins, I think, and he's holding holding coins in a fan.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, it's funny. I get asked about 3-fly all the time, and I don't wear that. I don't run around saying I created 3-fly. I do not walk around saying I started the cardistry movement. I do not. I just do. Yeah, no, but I mean, I hear it. I hear people say it, but
of course,
I don't want to use that as my.
Here's your business card with.
I don't need to do that. So I don't want to do that.
No, fair. You don't need to either. But the trick's obviously has evolved since you first published it. And I noticed on the syllabus for the upcoming masterclass that you're going to be teaching it. So which version are you going to be teaching? Is it going to be like where you're at with it now?
So, well, here's the thing. So the 3-fly as it existed in the original state. And this is I have tried to, with the extra coin, I have tried to make that different, change it, alter it. And I have not been able to find a better method that fits me.
Right.
I see a lot of people do the stuff where they slide the coins down, which obviously I thought of that right off the bat. It didn't fit me. I'm meat and potatoes. I move around. So what I do fits me. I've not been able to find another. I had an idea for the gimmick Superfly, which basically I do the same routine exactly the same way, except I just have this little magnetic sliding coin. And I kind of don't use that because it feels I had to have the coin, one, and two, I've done the other one so long it just feels right. But one of the things I'm going to go over why I do what I do in 3-fly. It's more about what's going through my head when the trick is happening. That's it. That's really what I'm going to briefly explain how it works because I think most people have a version of it or fiddle with it. The thing I am going to teach um, about, oh my God, I don't 15 years ago. Well, it's been a long time. I came up with a version of three fly using only three coins. So
Three regular
I
coins.
regular coins, no gimmick, no nothing. So I had from day one I played around with it. Never had a good thing. Never had anything good. And I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, Homer said, "Hey, I'm playing around with this thing with three coins." So he showed it to me, and I went, it's something hit me for an ending. I'm like, "Oh my God," because that was the problem with the three coin one is like the ending. So I was like, "Oh, I have this. This might work." So I started fiddling around with an idea for an ending for it, and everything fell together very quickly for that three coin three fly, and I came up with the first coin one and coin two, and then the third one, which is my favorite part, the ending. So I'm going to teach that and explain why I have to do another trick before it. So there's
Okay.
another effect before it because it doesn't hold on its own. I don't think three fly holds on its own anyway. Without more, without a trick before it or a trick after it or an actual different ending.
Hmm.
I don't. I just think doing it all by itself, it looks beautiful. Eye candy. It's 40 seconds or whatever it is, but I think it needs more. So,
Sure.
and that's what I'm gonna talk about is why I do it, what I do, the reason what makes certain parts of the trick better than other parts, and how it fits me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like my whole mantra is when I explain something, because I mean, when I wrote that little thing on Instagram or Twitter that I have not, I swore I would never do a teaching style lecture again,
Yeah.
like 30 years ago. Uh, I pretty much just do things for me, and I do them for the way I do magic and the way I see performing.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's right for everybody. So
Yeah, yeah.
I I I hate saying this is the way I would do it. I too many people say no, this is the way to do it. I'm the man with the answer,
Mm-mm.
and I'm not that. I'm
You
just the
don't want
guy
to do
that
that.
does. I know what I do, and I know it fits me. So I'm going to do a lot of explaining of that too,
Hmm.
just why I do things. Um, and I'm also going to, honestly, I never thought I would show that three flag, that three coin three flag. And I did it as an exercise. And I taught it to Nick DeFott.
Hmm.
And Nick, who I love, he's like the greatest. So Nick starts doing it around. He starts doing it for people. And he starts telling me how he's fooling everybody with it and how people love it. And Richard Kaufman uh, called me immediately after, or texted me immediately after Nick did it for him and said he wants to put that in the new Greater Magic. He's like, oh, he fooled me. Oh my God, I don't know what he did. Uh, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is an exercise. It was an exercise.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a skill exercise. And I didn't think it. I performed it a few times, like when I went to the Magic Castle, and I just like do it for a couple people there
Hmm.
to see if it worked. Is this to see if it actually would work? And I didn't get the this insane like, oh my God, that's crazy reaction that I kind of wanted, or not wanted, but I hoped for.
Right.
And then I fiddled with it again. I played with it a little more, and then I did. I just showed it to Nick, and Nick's like, "Oh my God, that's great!" And he's doing it all over the place, and it's I don't know.
Well,
So I'm going to teach that. I'm going to teach that, and then I'm also going to teach this card control stuff that I do,
okay.
which is I it's an interesting thing. It's the kind of thing where people will grasp it very quickly, but if they don't put the time in it, it won't work.
Hmm.
They won't be able to do it, or they won't be able to do it efficiently. It's quite a little task, but it's also changed my world. I changed all my card stuff after I came up with this. Everything,
Oh. Oh.
every single thing. I eliminated half of the moves that I've ever done. Eliminated,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and it is my favorite thing to do, play with, and I work on it constantly trying to come up with different ideas.
And there's going to be other new stuff, right? Because you haven't published
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
in a
Oh
while.
yeah, yeah. I know, and anything that I think pretty much anything I'm going to do that's old is a new version of it.
Right.
It's the only reason to do it. Except for three fly is just I'm just going to kind of go talk about it. But a couple of different things from Out of Control, I might go over what I do with it now and how I've eliminated, just made it either more practical or looked at the effect simpler. Why does that have three phases, and why don't I just do it once, or why did I not do this simpler, and why do I have to show that card there instead of just assuming that I'll go over all what went through my thought process to change it. And anyhow, it's going to be fun, actually, kind of, I hope.
I can't wait. I genuinely, the whole Vanishing team is very, very excited about it. We've run out of time, Chris. We always end the show with 4 quick-fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Favourite pizza topping?
Favorite pizza topping? Just cheese.
Favourite movie?
I don't look at life that way, so I don't have one.
Favourite person or people that make music?
Again, I don't really look at life that way.
Okay.
I'm not a favorites guy.
I very rarely get passes on these questions, but as it's you, I'll give you one.
But it's not really a pass. It's I like all genres of music. I'm driving around today listening to like hardcore old rap.
Okay.
And then the
90s,
next thing in my
90s
playlist.
OG stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my next set in playlist is Disney movie soundtrack. So it's like, I like go everywhere.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Okay, so the final question that you don't get a pass on is: who would you rather fight, one massive Andy or 100 tiny Joshuas?
Well, Josh is much more the guy you'd want to beat up. So you're going to go with trying to beat up a bunch of Josh. You can kick him and smash him. You can do all the things you wanted to do, with him at one time.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. As I mentioned, the whole VI team are genuinely excited about seeing your lectures and masterclass this coming Sunday, and I hope you have a blast doing it. Anybody listening that has not booked yet, there is still time. Head along to vanishingmagic.com/masterclass for all the details. Awesome. Chris Kenner, thank you so much for your time. It's been a genuine pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been awesome. Hope I didn't spoil too much.
Boom.